Well, 16 minutes before 8, let's bring you this interview, very important one. And of course, especially as we celebrate or commemorate, I should say, 16 days of activism against gender-based violence, the focus has been on women and how the scourge has affected them. However, it is also important to speak to men about gender-based violence. What goes through the mind of a man who feels so disenfranchised that he takes his frustrations out on an intimate partner? Now, let's discuss some of this with Thanduxolo Doro, who is a MINA Movement representative, and we welcome him to Morning Live now. Thanks so much for your time and welcome to the show.
Thank you. Good morning, Sakina. Good morning to listenership.
Thanduxolo, first off, let's just talk about today's dialogue and exactly how it ties in with the 16 Days of Activism campaign.
Well, today at 11 to 12:30, I'll be moderating a webinar, a live webinar on HIV and AIDS, general health, and men, because men, Sakina, do not come for HIV testing. You'll remember tomorrow we are celebrating also World AIDS Day. Men do not come for screening for HIV. When they come, they are already in a bad state. They are brought into the facilities. And we are saying men should go for screening even if they feel healthy. And those few who come for screening and for HIV testing, they come and they get linked to treatment, but they drop out midway. And we are saying this time around, men should understand that when you take your ARVs, when you take them religiously, you begin to suppress HIV in your body, and that helps that you do not pass on the HIV virus to your sexual partner. It gets suppressed to undetectable levels. That is why we are going to embark on a particular campaign called U equals U, meaning undetectable HIV equals untransmittable HIV. So it's a very empowering prospect that came from the medical world, because with the current ARVs, no longer men have to fear being dishaped by ARVs. No longer men have to fear that the ARVs will kill them before they are killed by HIV or AIDS itself, as it was in the beginning. ARVs have come and have improved and are so conducive to the bodies of people who are taking this virus, who are having this virus. And we are saying, men, take hold of your health. Take hold of your relationship. Reconstruct your relationship with health. Reconstruct your relationship with health facilities. And reconstruct your relationship even at home.
Now, Thanduxolo, before we even get back to HIV-related issues, men, we know generally, even though it may be anecdotal, we know that generally men have an aversion to seeking medical help from going to the doctors. Do we know why this is the case? Why is it so difficult for men to actually seek medical help?
We now know, Sakina, that men actually are not happy with the environment they find in facilities. Men saying that the health facilities, the clinics, for example, are very much anti-men culturally. Just the way they are structured, the infrastructure there, and the people visiting, women and children, they are the most people who are populating the health facilities. And men do not like to wait. It should be 30 minutes max, and they must go out of the clinic. But we are saying now to men, we are rolling out a system whereby men will find health clinics and facilities to be very conducive, because we have gazebos that have been placed in certain areas of the clinic where men can turn a corner and get into a gazebo, find a male nurse, and communicate freely with the male nurse. We are saying men now have a way of getting into even support groups. Once you are undetectable, your virus, Sakina, you begin not to even visit the health facilities. You are allowed to collect your medicines from a pharmacy or from a supermarket or from a support group in your own local community. So it's no longer as before, where you have to go into the health clinic and wait a whole day for your ARVs. You will just try that for 6 months. Once your virus get to undetected levels, you have this right of going to a pharmacy and collect your medicine. So no longer now are you having to put up with the environment that is not conducive to you.
Now, Thanduxolo, let's just look at diagnosis. When someone is diagnosed HIV positive, especially a man, or with any other life-threatening illness for that matter, how do you find that this affects the male psyche? Is it possible that this could be a trigger in some instances without condoning or even making excuses? But have you seen any evidence that this could possibly a trigger for gender-based violence?
Well, Sakina, research has it that 5 to 10% of men report that they have been sexually abused when they were children. And this compared to women is 20% of women. Now that trauma, Sakina, you would know, research has it that with that kind of a trauma, later on in life, you might find yourself a victim of gender-based violence or a perpetrator of gender-based violence. So with HIV, there is that linkage. And we are asking men to be in touch with their emotions. We are asking men to get involved in the MINA movement and make sure that within their communities, there's a way of them meeting together and discussing and stop suppressing feelings. Because the suppression of feelings is what leads to outbursts and violence. So we also in the process are destigmatizing counseling. Counseling is not something that is set aside for only women. Men should visit counseling centers. Men should visit HIV centers. There's counseling in there. And we're even beginning to say, maybe even in the screening of HIV, there should be some way of also screening for GBV so that people can be referred to experts of GBV counseling.
And again, in all of this, the stigma that's associated, because you know all the various sayings that we grow up with, where men aren't expected to show emotion. In fact, it is actively discouraged, where men are told to be strong, where men are actually in certain instances encouraged to show their violent streak. How then do we promote all of this against a backdrop that is very much still one that encourages a male superiority in all senses?
It's such a pity, Sakina, that we have had this situation in our country and across the continent where men are told to be strong, men shouldn't be cry, tigers don't cry. And in fact, Sakina, the opposite is true. We as men are very vulnerable. The problem is that we tend to suppress that and put on this mask of strength. And when that vulnerability begins to explode, it becomes a problem, not only to us, but to the people around us. So MINA movement is encouraging men to seek help, is encouraging men to break down and show vulnerabilities, even in their own relationship at home, and also to make sure that they talk and not suppress the feelings. We've been done a very big blow by these assertions that we are mature, we are strong, tigers don't cry. We are actually not like that. We are very much vulnerable. So MINA campaign seeks to bring back that attitude of saying, I want to seek help. I am at a point of breaking down, and I'm opening up about my feelings, and it doesn't make me to be less of a man.
And you, Thanduxolo, have first-hand experience in this regard when you found out about your diagnosis. But you never perpetrated any acts of gender-based violence. But did you share some frustrations that many other men go through? If you could just talk us through your personal experience in this regard.
Sagina, great question. When you test positive, Sagina, and I did this 30 years ago, but here I am, still alive and strong, and I've ticked all the boxes in terms of what I wanted to achieve in life. Why? Because I'm aware that my health is in my hands. The responsibility for me to remain on this earth and be healthy is upon my shoulders. Any other person outside of me is only there to support me. But the opposite is true to some men, and they think that they are strong. They think that they are strong only as far as somebody else assists them, but they fail to go get that assistance. I took ARVs 6 years into my being HIV positive, simply because there were no ARVs then. But now there are ARVs, and as I said earlier, they are much better than the first generation of ARVs. Now they don't deshape somebody, they don't make somebody may have so many side effects. I have lived with HIV, and I haven't committed these acts. Some of the things that happen, Sakina, when you test HIV positive, you get angry, you get to be fearful, you get to be to lack some confidence. And I am saying, not that I didn't have those things, but I went and sought help, and I found help through counseling. I built myself a support structure. My family supports me. My nearest clinic supports me. So it's up to every man. These things are doable, Sakina. It's not things that are not reachable. It's just that men are held back by the views that were held before, that men are strong. Nothing can defeat a man. We've seen, Sakina, through COVID, how fragile our bodies are. An invincible enemy has come and has killed so many in our country, including men. So when you take ARVs early on, immediately when you test positive, you avert a whole lot of issues, including cardiovascular issues later on in life, including being visited by many opportunistic infections. So the early start of ARVs is the healthy choice.
Thanduxolo Doro, so much we've learned from you this morning. Thank you so much for sharing and also letting us know about that session later today. Thanduxolo Doro is a moderator and mentor for that session later this afternoon. USAID, they'll be talking about men and how they can actually become active in the fight against gender-based violence, and he'll also be moderating a discussion on this on MINA for Men Facebook. That's between 11 a.m. and 12:30 p.m. That's MINA, MINA for Men. So you can actually join that discussion right there if you like. But with that, let's quickly see if we can share some of our messages here from our question of the day. And this is what we asked you